brain. How are we feeling? What has happened today? Have we had gratitude? What am I grateful for? I'm grateful that I'm learning. I'm grateful that I'm growing. I'm grateful that when I have big emotional releases that I get healing. Hello, Rita. I highly encourage you all, when you have messy days, to find time to sit with it, because you can get big healing. All right. Nice to see you all here. Thank you for tapping on that screen while more people come in. How am I? It's a good question. How am I doing? I'm excited. I'm hopeful. I've learned that when I turn down other opportunities that don't align with where I'm going, that I get opportunities that do. I know that's very cryptic. I'll tell you after there's ink on the deal. Okay. So I'm definitely noticing it, though. It's a value system. So that leads me to the question, for those of you that are here, thank you for being here. Thank you for being alive. Do not minimize the fact that you are above ground. There is still hope. There is still love. There are still lessons. There are still things to do, to see, to experience. It's not over for you yet. So keep going and make the most of it. And that means that when you have your emotions, you check in with them and you nurture them. You do not abandon yourself. Thank you. All right. So what I want to talk to you about, I want to raise a question. I want to provoke thought. Why? Thank you for thank you for the roses. Thank you. Thank you for double tapping. Why do you think the way that you do? Who taught you how to think that way? Why do I have the reactions that I have to other people's words? Why do I interpret people's tones of voices the way that I do? Do you know, I would say the majority of the reason why humans get into fights and get into arguments is misinterpreting tone of voice. Hey, what's up, Nia? Is it Nia or Nia? I asked you that before and I didn't see the answer. What's up, Mal Pal? Happy birthday. Happy birthday. May this be your best year yet. All right. So. In that same line of thinking, it's your birthday, and that's exciting. And there's also different emotions and different things that pop up, expectations, comparisons, looking at our age, and all these different thoughts come up, right? It's important. I love that you can filter, you can just filter people who are just miserable on this application. Thank you. And if you don't like me, stick around. You might change your mind. Okay. All right. So the question becomes, in that same line of thinking where you're saying like, oh, it's my birthday and I want to make the most of it, right? So when we have the thoughts that come around of, and most people over like 25 start to think this way of like, uh-oh, I'm missing out. I'm missing out. What's up, bad girl? Thank you. Thank you, Voodoo. I love you too. Thank you. What makes us think the way that we do? I was watching a video today that provoked thought that was saying, because a lot of us deal with insecurity, that in order for you to have true happiness and to be able to be authentic in the way that you are, please understand that there are going to be some people who don't like you. I've seen a lot of videos recently with content creators. It might be my algorithm, but there's content creators that are saying like, I'm tired of the hurtful comments. I'm tired of the negativity. People are saying negative things on my videos. Now, this doesn't apply to everybody because not everybody in here is on TikTok to create content. Some people just focus more on education, and there's the rest of them, right? Hey, what's up, Raynak? Thank you. Do I hypnotize people? Only on the weekends. Thank you. Don't look deep into my eyes. Love yourself more. So again, for those of you that are hopping on, the question is, who taught us to think the way that we do? Why do we have the reactions that we have? How can we shake the programming? How can we find ways to believe in ourselves more? How can we find ways to have a different reaction to something that's really different? Another thing that I want to say, I saw a video. That's what I was going to say. For the people that are content creators, when people do put you down, when people do attack you, when people do insult you, if you can hear the jingling in the background, that's the dog. Okay. Please understand that with more self-love, with more self-nurturing, with more awareness, you are going to get other people that just don't like you. Please remember that. Thank you. Thank you. I got this in Los Angeles. Thank you. These questions are making your head burst. Good. Get out of your head and get into the game. Take notes. If you don't have a notebook, don't worry. There's this introvert named Nikki Scorpio who has one in his bio link. We have the reactions because of lack of self-discipline and lack of knowledge. I love this answer. Yes, absolutely. I would say, and if you are taking notes, I really want for you to take this one as a note, because a lot of these conversations, if you grew up in trauma, if you grew up in PTSD, are going to go against the way of thinking, especially if you grew up in poverty, especially if you grew up around perfectionism, right? How exhausting. So most of us are going off of thoughts that were given to us by people who are not going where we're going. Do you get that? Do you understand what I'm saying? The people who love you, who have good intention, they're not going where you're going. And that's a very simple concept that might go over some people's heads. It's important to understand that, though, because you realize how so many responses and reactions that you're having in the relationships that you have, in the friendships that you have, right? All of those different responses and reactions. Thank you, Mal. Thank you. Love you. Thank you. Safe travels. All of those responses were taught to you. And we accept what we accept, and we don't accept what we don't accept. And we find belief systems that work for us. And we say, well, I guess that makes sense within my frame, within my life, within how I'm living. That's why there are people that talk about manifestation, and there are people that get really angry and frustrated about that. When if you look up the literal definition of manifestation, it's basically that, and again, go look it up. But it's basically that you see it and you believe it, right? There's people on, if you go onto spiritual TikTok, for example, that there are people that talk about you shouldn't say this. There's like the conversation of new age spirituality versus ancient wisdom, all these different conversations from so many people who have so many opinions, and so many people are frustrated. But what I've realized is most of those people who put you down, most of those people who have opinions, most of those people who criticize you won't actually take the time to educate you. They're just angry. They're just frustrated because they can't control the narrative and they can't control the frustration. And most people don't even realize why they're frustrated with other things. Like when I see conversations with people that are talking about lucky girl syndrome, for example, regardless if I believe in lucky girl syndrome, if you don't know what that is, it's just more of a mantra, more of a motto, more of a way of thinking of like, everything works out for me, everything works out for me, everything works out for me, right? That for me, like, there are people that are genuinely and legitimately mad about that. There are people that have diagnoses that have things going on cognitively in the brain where it doesn't click or it's not the same. And there's all of these different conversations on how to be a human. And now more than ever, because of technology, so many different people are telling you how to think and why you should think that way. No, I'm not talking about Democrats. Thank you so much. Like, relax, take a deep breath. We're not here to talk about politics, okay? We're here to talk about emotional intelligence. We're here to get past divisive conversations. Maybe if you type in caps lock even bigger, eventually people will hear you. Come on, stop it. Relax. Hey, what's up, Tanisha? Nice to see you again. All right. So it's important for you to take a look at this because people just have reactions and they don't like it. People just have reactions and they don't like things. They just don't like how it feels. They don't like going to their parents' house. So many of you, drop an emoji or say yes if you have issues, if you have a disagreement, if you have a frustration either with family or with your parents, specifically more so this year. or within the past couple of months? What are all these political bots all up in my thing? Hold on one second. Yes, a lot of people. Hey, what's up, Coco? What's up, everybody? So, what do we do with this information? How can we move forward? Hold on, I have this like thing I don't want to do on screen because there's 200 people here. Okay, good. Right? How can we move forward? I mean, even for example, with because I don't really talk about politics on this page, right? It's not really, because that's a distraction versus like this old white man versus this old white man typically, right? Is like the battle within all of that. But like you get around your family. Some of you have family that politically disagree with you. Some of you just despise politics, right? And have such a resentment for it and such a bitterness and such an anger and such a frustration because we learn from our parents that it's frustrating, and we learn from other people that it's frustrating. But you know the one thing that we didn't learn? You want to know the one thing that we didn't learn? Is that we can find solutions beyond politics. We can find solutions beyond divisive conversations. We can create community, right? We can create content, and we can tell other people, when somebody has a different spiritual belief than you, they're not a bad person. There's a very, very, very large portion of digital spirituality where people want for you to believe in this way. Your parents want for you to believe in this way. Think this way, support these people, like these people, don't like these people, love these people, but don't agree with these people. And the way that affects us is without even realizing it, we get frustrated with people because we can't control the narrative. We cannot control situations. We can't control the way that people think. I know you very much want to talk about politics. There's no point. There's no point. Having a conversation that's divisive is going to, people want to find, listen, we're doing this thing in society right now where all of the walls are coming down, right? We're doing this thing in society where people are saying, I don't want, like, how many people are thinking of quitting their jobs, are thinking of traveling, have already done that, are thinking of doing something right now that in your logical mind is scary, is overwhelming, or you're like, I don't even know how I'm capable of doing that, but I really want to do that. Put an emoji or say yes if that's you. Because I'm definitely one of those people, and I did that too. And I'll tell you what's good on this side. The biggest thing for me that I'm doing right now is I've been following my intuition 100% of the time. And what that means is that for example, when I was living in Manhattan, when I was living in New York City, thank you for muting. Thank you. It's like people are in like feedback loops today. I really genuinely don't know what's going on. Hey, what's up, Melissa? Nice to see you. Okay. What I realized when I would walk down the street, because I live in a state where it's more driving right now, right? That I would walk down the street and I would get directions to turn down a certain way, and I would think that's weird, but I can still get there. And what I realized, when we follow our intuition as close to 100% of the time as we can, what happens in moments where there's friction, what happens when there's moments when there's tension, is you get that Matrix move. If you haven't seen the Matrix, you probably know what I'm talking about, where everything slows down, where you're able to slow down. And that's part of what I teach and what I talk about. Emotional intelligence is being able to say, let me slow down. Can I actually do this thing? Let me slow down. I should study this person's reaction. Let me slow down. Why am I automatically going to this response? Especially for those of you in relationships. Remember this, especially for those of you that are parents. Your auto response is going to be what it's been for a while. And sometimes it's good to hit the reset button. Sometimes it's really, really powerful to say, does this still make sense? Like, for example, if you don't like yelling and you're still yelling, that's you're going against your own philosophy. The biggest and most challenging thing for a lot of people can be the discipline. And when I mean by discipline, I mean it's so easy for you if you're in an abusive relationship or if you live with people who have negative energy, negative attitudes. It is so easy to go to, oh God, there it is again. Oh God, I hate that. Oh, I hate when that happens. I hate when that happens. Oh, I strongly dislike when that happens. Right? It's easy to do that. It's easy to go to that place because mom taught us, dad taught us, somebody taught us in our life. And when you can understand on the other side of that, it's you that can pick up on it, that can sense it. And so it's up to us to say, I don't like where I'm about to go to, or I don't like where my brain is going to, or I feel this emotion inside of my body and I don't want to feel it. I mean, for me, for example, sometimes when I go on the live streams, I feel an anxiety, right? Even if I look up in the numbers, I'm like, oh my God, there was 300 people. Now there's 74. It's very easy to get caught up in that comparison game. It's very easy to all of a sudden lose your momentum because things are changing. It's very easy to get distracted by other people with big emotions and big reactions. It's very easy to say this person doesn't like me and they don't like what I'm doing. And so therefore I'm going to stop, or I'm going to shut down, or I'm going to walk away, or I'm going to leave. And it's you understanding that you've done it before and it's autopilot and auto response to do it again. How do I learn to trust my intuition? It's like a muscle. It's a process. It's like, for example, if you're an artist and you make art, right? Like even if you don't, that when you were a kid, when you were doing drawing, when you would draw like your family picture or something like that, that the more that you draw, the better you get at it. Right? In the same way with songwriting, the more that you write songs, the more that you write, the more that you express yourself, the easier it becomes. The question that I have for you is, can you go on a journey of, this is my self-development. I want to trust my intuition more. And so what I'm going to do is be like a child learning how to ride that bicycle, or learning how to walk. What's up, Snowbird? Nice to see you, right? Can you go to a space to say, I want to give myself permission to make mistakes. I want to give myself permission to overreact. I want to give myself permission to cry. I want to give myself permission to be angry inside, and to find different ways to communicate and find different ways to express myself, and to stop thinking about what are they going to say? What's going to happen to them? Oh my goodness, if I do this, this is going to affect other people. Over and over and over again. If that's your inner dialogue every single time that you get into conflict, or every single time that you want to start up your business, or you want to start up that thing, or some of you want to create content, but then you go to the space of like, but I don't like myself. I don't like my physical appearance. And then you convince yourself to go on to create a video. And then because you're still thinking about that, you're not being true to yourself. This is connected with our momentum. Right? I've talked about this recently because momentum is really important, really powerful to understand. That when you start to realize, when you're thinking about other things and you're communicating, when you're actually giving thought to, how is this person going to receive this? How is this person going to react before I say this? Sometimes that can actually block our full expression because we're still thinking about them, and we're diluting, we're sugarcoating, or we're watering down our true expression. Following your intuition more requires for you to get out of the dialogue of what are people going to think? What are people going to think? For example, if you were raised by a family that doesn't talk about emotions and doesn't talk about feelings, your intuition telling you to rest is going to say, no, I can't rest because I have to email people. I have to connect with people. I have to do more, especially if you're an ambivert or an extrovert. It's automatically, there's other people involved. There's other people involved. I have to go do something else. I naturally, if you're more of an ambivert or an extrovert, you get more joy and connectivity off of connecting with other people. Intuition might tell you to take a break because you've been learning too much, or you've been doing too much, or you've gotten the right amount of information, and it's time for you to sit with it and integrate it and take time. And you're like, no, I don't want to feel pain anymore. I have to keep on learning. And that's where we get burnt out, and that's where our energy gets burnt out. It's practice. Like Rita says, it's practice. There's a practice to doing what we're doing. There's a practice to getting to point B in a new way. We're going into a new place. We're going into a new way of thinking. There are so many illusions and so many distractions going on, and so many different people with so many different opinions. So my question for you is, why do you think the way that you do? And how can you think differently? That's part of emotional intelligence. And I'm really excited to announce on the 4th of March, I'm going to be having a roundtable class that's going to be the full spectrum of emotional intelligence. So if you want to learn about happiness, sadness, anger, anxiety, insecurity, depression, these different feelings, these different emotions, these different thoughts that go into our body, and you want to learn a different understanding about them that you've never heard before, I have different worksheets, and I'm also doing one-on-ones for anybody who is a part of that, especially if you're more of an introvert, especially if you have social anxiety. Do this in front of other people, be around other people, and have those vulnerable conversations, because vulnerability will set you free. I promise you, from somebody who didn't want to tell their story. Link in the bio. Check it out. All right. So when it comes to why you have the reactions that you have, for example, if you're watching and you're going to be going into a social setting, if you're going into a grocery store, if you're going to get your hair cut, if you're going to be around other people where you would normally be quiet and keep your head down, especially if you're more introverted. What I started doing is I started finding ways to say, I want to find my excitement. I want to find excitement. Where is excitement? So I started deliberately going out of my way to compliment people and to have different conversations with people, to say, hey, I like your earrings, or hey, I like your tattoos, or hey, cool t-shirt, or something like that. Just, it's like you're finding somebody to show love to. Linda, what I would say instead of worrying about the oh my God, where am I going to start with my story, is just let that naturally set that intention and travel with that. Like, when I didn't like how I felt, when I didn't like my circumstances, what I started doing is I said, I'm going to stop creating art. I'm going to stop making music. I'm going to stop networking. I'm going to stop getting around other people and just having generic conversations. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out why my story is exciting. For a word. I am going to practice convincing myself that I am attractive enough, instead of thinking that I should be more attractive or my hair should look a different way. By the way, I'm growing it out because I'm going to go into more of like a rock thing. So I'm growing that out. So I'm in this, literally like right now, I'm in this stage of growing my hair out. So I can get past that. And the way that I can, if you're somebody who deals with image issues, image insecurities, if you have wrinkles, if you have lines, if you have stretch marks, if you don't like your skin color, if you wish you were more darker or lighter, because people who are lighter want to be darker and people who are darker want to be lighter, and some of you don't fall for that trap. What an exhausting thing to be human sometimes. People who are blonde want to be brunette, people who are brunette want to be blonde, Raven is beauty, etc. It's like there's always room, change. That for me, I set the boundary of, I want to know that the people that I'm communicating and connecting with don't look at my physical appearance or look at my background, where I'm currently living, being that I traveled across the United States and now I'm in a relationship. I want to be around people that see me for me, that love me for me, that can see that I'm authentic, that I'm a good person, that I am a loving person. I want to connect with people like that. I don't want to think about all the people that I'm missing out on connecting with. Because when I'm able to set the boundary of physical appearance is an illusion, and yes, I can still take care of myself. I can still moisturize. I can still wash my face. I can still comb my hair. I can still do these kinds of things. I can still wear nice clothing. However, I'm doing it more so for myself, because when my clothes fit, I like the way that I feel. When I like the way that I feel, I'm more comfortable in my own skin. When I'm more comfortable in my own skin, I can have more excitement. When I have more excitement, other people pick up on that. But I'm not going to live for my entirety of my life of that person is judging my teeth, that person is judging my hair, that person is judging my physical appearance, because I was in a relationship where that was the whole entire focal point of their existence, basically, of like, how are people seeing us? How do people see us? If you're raised in a family that doesn't show emotions and is like, present yourself and show yourself as perfect, from my experience, from being around somebody like that for almost a decade, it's exhausting. It's really, truly exhausting. And people like that, it's not that somebody like that is a narcissist. It's just there are people that are raised to not show their feelings and not show their emotions. So for me, what I want to say for all of you, regardless of how you were raised, and like Linda was saying, I don't even know how to tell my story. Go on the journey to set the intention to say that you want to own your story. And it's not the once upon a time everything was perfect, everything made sense, and everything was good, and everybody loved me. No, that's exhausting. What about the parts that you don't talk about? What about the parts of you that if anybody found out and they told people in public, that you would get so embarrassed and so humiliated and would feel like a little helpless child all over again, feeling not good enough or feeling like you were a fraud? Like, what if you were accepting an award and somebody looked at you and were like, you used to be an addict, and you were like, oh, and then all of a sudden you feel that flush, right? Or somebody's looking at you and they're like, oh my God, you lost your parental rights as a mother, so you're a terrible mother. And you're like, oh, and all of a sudden all this emotion comes back to you. That if you've ever had negative thoughts, or if you have something walking around in your day-to-day life, you're like, if anybody finds out this one thing about me, I'm going to snap, I'm going to go off on them. This is where we must own who we are. Let me see this. Deep down scars, people will turn it and use it against me. Why? Because you're allowing their words to be interpreted as there's something wrong with me. When you're saying that people use it against you, that's because you're determining that their words are weapons. And you're saying in some way, shape, or form, what this person is saying has a truth. Because if it didn't have a truth, we wouldn't respond to it. Everything that's been painful in your life is a misinterpretation. Right, like Mama Strudel said, we're not our bad choices. You were doing the best you can with the information that you had at the time. You are not your trauma. For how many of you would define yourself as somebody who has had abandonment issues or codependency? There's nothing wrong with being open and being vulnerable. Don't do that thing where you're like, oh, that's unattractive. And people do not respond and they want to, because they think like, oh, somebody's going to have an opinion. Like, I'm going to tell your family member, or we're going to tell your family, or something like that. Okay, so check this out. Good. Not good in the sense of how you felt about it, but good in the sense that you can take responsibility and say, this has been a thought in my mind. What if I told you that that person didn't abandon you, that it was their time to pass away? What if it wasn't abandonment? What if they just weren't happy in the relationship that they had and they needed to leave? What if they just weren't happy and they didn't have the words to communicate and to express themselves? What if that person just wasn't healthy and it was their time to go and it was their time to leave? What if it's true what they say, that everything happens for a reason and it's not cheesy? What did you learn from that abandonment? What did you learn from being codependent? If you're somebody who wants this world to be a better place, and chances are that is you, then you want to learn all the things that are wrong. This is why when parents book time with me, a lot of times the main conversation is more so of like, I'm nervous and I'm scared that my child is going to fall down and hit rock bottom, and that they're going to go to rehab, and that they're not going to get rehabilitated and all this different stuff. And I'm like, good, then either way, they're either going to learn the lesson and they're going to pick themselves up and they're going to love themselves and they're going to see what's wrong with planet Earth and they're going to do something to be a more compassionate leader and somebody who has compassion for other people. Or they're going to keep on going until they learn that lesson and see how really difficult this one thing is. That's why I do my best to be transparent. I was watching a video on TikTok that was talking about this, and it was from somebody in Gen Z that was saying like, yo, like every month there's going to be a couple days that are just like crappy days. And I've come to grips with that and I've made peace with that. They're like, I'm okay with that. So when those days happen, I'm not beating myself up about it. And I had one of those days yesterday and I was able to be with that. And because I was able to be in all of that, I hate how I feel. I can't describe it. Oh my God, I'm taking it out on the person that I'm in a relationship with. Oh man, this is so frustrating. And then the imposter syndrome used to kick in before of like, I can't be a leader if I'm human and if I have emotions. I can't be a leader if I'm this way, I'm that way. I have to be perfect all the time. And because I've been able to go into these spaces and silence those voices and tell them another interpretation, another story of what's happening, I love when it's emotionally messy. And I was able to get big time healing and release a big energy from within my existence. And I have even more transparency and I've leveled up even more. I am not going to let other people, because trust me when I tell you, because I come from poverty, because I come from just a different background, because I was in the abusive relationships, because I've experienced in so many different ways not feeling good enough. When you finally get to the space where you do feel like, hey, maybe there's a chance that I am good enough, you get more people that don't like you. You get more people that don't agree with you. You get more people that are going to put you down for that. You say you want success. Do you think that success means that things are happy all of the time? Can you be okay with other people? Like I was in my relationship yesterday, I was in the bathroom having a breakdown because I have PTSD still to this day. Right there, that was body language. Even though my nose itched, that's still when people do that, when they talk about things that are uncomfortable, that's nurturing. When we touch our face, when we talk about things that are nurturing or difficult or insecurity, we're nurturing when we do that. See? I call myself out. But I was talking about that in my relationship to say, man, I've done so much to heal that childhood wound of being taken advantage of. So much healing. So many different shamans, so many different ceremonies, so many different forms of therapy, stretching, yoga, breath work, like watching videos, seminars, classes. It's still to this day frustrates me. It's and you know what's interesting, for those of you that have been abandoned, for those of you that have been victims, for those of you that have been taken advantage of, that you will get around other people who look more successful than you, who are narcissistic, who are gaslighting you, who are mentally or verbally or even physically abusive. You will get around those people because they look more attractive or they have more money or they look more successful, and you will let them walk all over you. Don't do that. Please, from me to you, please do not be desperate. Thank goodness I'm in a relationship with somebody who's a protector in the same way that I'm a protector. I deserve it. Sheesh. It's exhausting how much we'll accept because we've been abused, because we've been traumatized, because we felt like we don't have any options, because somebody told us that we were stupid or we were a failure or we're not good enough. And so we take the first job, we take the first contract, we take the first deal, we get into the first relationship, the first person who says hi to us, we're like, hey, I'm not going to have any kind of question because you like me. That's great, right? Dealing with my significant other, hold on, let me see. Dealing with my significant other, stepping over every boundary I make, then attacks my insecurity and lows. Yeah. So Chakra Gal, I love you and I appreciate you. So I'm going to have a conversation with you. This is going to be challenging. You know where I'm going with this. This is where we start to get in touch with our anger. This is where we stop doing the love and light, thoughts and prayers, watching manifestation videos, spiritually tiptoeing around, saying all of the spiritually correct phrases, going around other people, going and saying, hey, love and light, and let me just show you that I'm happy all of the time, and let me show you, right? Because I used to do the exact same, calling it out, because I used to do the exact same thing. This is where we start to say, you know what? I don't like being spoken to this way. You crossed my boundaries. You don't respect me. In the same way you want to be respected, so do I. It's okay that you spiritually don't agree with what I'm saying. I love my spirituality. And I choose to be around people who respect that my spiritual beliefs are important for me. Thank you for understanding that. Anger. You're angry. Anger is not low vibration, my love. Anger is your best friend who comes in when you've had the breakup. Did you ever see those TikTok videos like last year or something like that, where it's like this girl comes in with the boombox and she's just like, yeah, like just going to help out her friend. Like, yo, like you need to do that for yourself. I know that it's frustrating. I know that it's annoying. I know that you want love. You're still alive, and there's still 8 billion people out here, and you deserve better. And I know how frustrating it is. And I know that there's a part of you that hears me, and there's another part of you that's like, nope, I can't do that because I've invested too much time into this relationship. I hear you. I feel you. 10 years was a long time for me. I get it. However, when you say enough, thank you. When you say enough is enough, is enough, is enough, and you take that leap, the blessings on the other side of the leap, because it's an energy, and you know this, but here's what we forget about. And you've heard me talk about this before on these live streams if you are following me. And if you're not following me, hit that follow button, because we have these conversations to move forward so that we're not caught in these runarounds. When you're thinking about one person and you're frustrated, one person isn't respecting you and loving you, monster, let's say get the frying pan. No, there is a word for that in the English vocabulary, and that's abuse. And we love blue skies and green grass and freedom. You know that when you're able to, and I love you, thank you. I know that was some humor, but hear me for a second though. When you're able to focus all of that energy on yourself, all of that energy on your career, all of that energy on your education, especially now, like I feel like a lot of us are getting, how many people feel like you're going into a new chapter again, or that you feel like you've recently gone into a new chapter, or that there's a part of you that's like, I need to take a chance. I need to take a risk. I need to take a leap. I need to do more. My system isn't working out for me. Like now's the time to remove people from your life, and it's difficult and it's uncomfortable and it's frustrating. However, when you say, I know my worth and I know my boundaries, and you're not respecting me, this is where we get the rewards, and this is where we get better people. I don't know how else to say it. I know that there are going to be those of you that hear me that say, I wish I could take that leap, but I have kids. Your kids are going to be fine. I am the child of a broken home where there was double abandonment. I was raised by lesbians. My non-biological mother left my biological mother December 31st, New Year's Eve, and said I didn't want children. We're codependent, or when we're not wanted and when we're not loved, is we accept the craziest scenarios, and we accept people to walk all and if you came from money, if you lost your money, you would not be stressed long term, because you could call a friend, you could get a loan, you could get a line of credit, you could get another job, you could amp up your resume, get another job, get a little bit of money, invest that into stocks. You would have a different network, you would have a different understanding around money, right? So in that same way, that if you were raised in that kind of a family and somebody said you should get a minimum wage job if you're low on money, they'd be like, no. And that's not emotional. That's not personal. That's not judging anybody who is working class, who is barely scraping by. That's fine. It's not to put you down. Don't take that personally. My point is to say is that we're either taught about value or we're taught about negative values, and we create those to say, these are my values and my beliefs, or we understand that we have value within who we are. So if we knew that we deserve to have healthy love, if somebody came around us like a walking, talking red flag, we would say, nope, that doesn't make sense. I don't deserve deserve that. I deserve better. I know that I deserve better. I saw my mom and my dad in my healthy relationship, or in my case, it was I saw that my grandparents were healthy and I wanted to have love like that. However, if you grow up in a home where there's abuse and when there's yelling and where it's toxic, that's all that's familiar. And that's where right now what we're doing is we're shedding our old beliefs and we're shedding our old friendships and we're shedding our old definitions. And this is why a lot of us feel crazy right now. Talking about money makes me sick, then I would say that's something to look at and to lean into. In the same way, what I would say high key intuitive, in that same way, this is where what I would do right now with all of us who are feeling so lonely, do what I'm doing. I'm educating myself. Like you can go onto Udemy, udemy.com, and you can just sign up for an account and you can type in free under the search engine and you can find out, like I'm watching videos about how to code because I want to create an app and I'm fascinated by coding. You can learn for free. Right now, like literally right this very moment, you could do that. Oh, that's too hard. No, you have options. You could be focusing on right now on typing in how to blah, 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 blah on TikTok in the search engine. You can look up different websites that have newsletters that talk about mental health. I mean, man, there are so many options. Udemy, udemy.com. Like you could go onto TikTok and type in how to get a job working from home and just do research. Use your discernment. But I'm saying right now, while we feel alone and while we feel frustrated and while we feel stuck, and I was talking about this yesterday. I went to the store. We went to the store to get some groceries. And the eggs were ranging from like $4 to $20. I'm like, wow, $20 for these eggs? And then one of the employees walked by and I was like, wow, $20 for these eggs. Good thing they come with the compliment. He thought that was really funny. Like you get like a massage or something like that when you buy these $20 eggs. So for me, what I'm doing, what I would say, Mama Strudel too, this is where it might feel cheesy at first. But this is where I've been doing this recently because I'm right there with you. It's frustrating. Inflation is frustrating. And I go back to, thank goodness I can afford to pay this bill. I love how smart I am that I can afford to pay this. I love how intelligent I am that I have enough money to pay this bill. And I do energy experiments around that to see how excited I can get. In the same way, before I go on live streams, sometimes I get anxiety and I say, hey, do you know it's okay that you feel this way? Do you know how many people love you in this world? I don't accept the anxiety and just let it overpower me. But there are some days that we're going to have that are rough and that are frustrating and that are difficult and are emotionally messy. And sometimes it's okay to just sit down and be a mess. But if you've had more messy days than good days, then it's time for you to realize there are some people in your life you're giving way too much power to. And I like this conversation right here. Let me pin this right here. Yesterday, what I did to snap out of my funk, besides doing breath work, is I took a cold shower. You start off with warm. You start off with hot where you feel comfortable and you slowly turn it down and turn it down and turn it down. And I'm all the way at the cold water freezing. I'm like, whoo, wow, that's cold. And you sit with how uncomfortable that is, and every single part of you wants to stop it and it makes you want for it to go away. And oh, stop this. I just want to feel warm again. I just want to feel comfortable again. That if you can, consider starting off with a warm shower or a hot shower and then going all the way down to cold and just breathing and breathing and breathing, for especially if you're insecure. Especially if you've had addiction, especially if you've grown up in abandonment and just need validation from other people. Like, sit in that energy and experience how life occurs to you when you feel uncomfortable. What I would say, Mama Strudel, is say, I have given a lot of power to other people. I'm getting better at loving myself more. I'm getting better at giving myself more attention. I'm getting better at calling things out. I'm very aware and I'm very okay because I've realized like, yo, I have so much patience, and I realize some of the concepts that I talk about need to be said like 5, 15, 20, 25 times. Please understand. This is why I love when people take notes. Because when you actually sit with it and you look at it and you think, I want to do that and I don't know how to do that. I like this concept. How can I do that? I have a notebook in my bio link. Go get it. $8.88 from Amazon. Yeah. Kid from the Stars definitely knows the vibes. I want to get better at using my discernment. Yeah, that's a good intention. That's a good intention. I would say for me, my intuition is the very, very, very first split second. Like I can meet somebody right away and be like, this person is sneaky. They have like it's that voice, that inner dialogue, that first thing that pops up from my experience is on point. However, if you've been an addict, if you've been beaten down, if you were told that you were stupid, especially because at the root, addiction is a thing. People are addicted to pulling tarot cards to know if they should go to the bathroom or not. All right. I've never had substance abuse addiction. However, I was addicted to needing validation, being in an abusive relationship. All right. So I like to cover everybody and really make sure everybody feels heard in these conversations. But I'm saying if you were told that you were stupid when you were younger, your first automatic response is going to be, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I can't do it, I don't know, I don't know, well, I don't know. How many of you use I don't know for a filler? Self-doubt is wild. Nobody knows that you can't do it until you project that energy. Nobody knows that you don't like how your life has gone until you get in front of people and you smile when you're not smiling inside. Take chances. I'm not seeing all the comments, but I love how you said, I love how Kid said, do it scared to Mama Strul. Yes. Most of what I've done in the past year, I've been scared while I've been doing it. It's weird to leave New York City. It was weird having that conversation where I was in the taxi cab and I looked over at a corner where I used to have a job over there. It was on 43rd Street and 8th Avenue in Hell's Kitchen. And I looked over at this place where I used to work and I just realized that I needed to leave New York City. And I had a conversation with New York while I was in the taxi cab at like 3 o'clock in the morning, just saying goodbye to New York. And it was crazy and it was emotional. I was sad, but I just knew that I had to do it. And I went on a journey with somebody that I didn't really know, which is very, very, very much unlike me. And I got into a relationship in a way that like I normally wouldn't have gotten into a relationship because I had trust issues, but something felt right and something felt familiar and it really made sense. And I listened to my intuition. I listened to that voice. And the more that I listen to it, the louder it gets. And trust me when I tell you, I even go on live streams when I have anxiety. I go on here when I'm like, I don't even know what's going on energetically, but I understand that there are other people that are feeling the way that I feel. And I just want to be that person to say, keep going. So bad girl. So this is where I mean, but check this out. Check this out. I would even encourage you, like I'm encouraging other people, change your username. Because there's power in words. And I get bad girl, bad boy, and everybody always markets and promotes, oh, you're edgy because you're a bad girl or you're a bad boy. But you were probably told that you were bad, that you were bad, that you were bad, that you were bad. And then we take pride in it. But it's bad. Bad is bad. You're speaking harsh to yourself. Think about it. I'm just saying consider it, because if you were told as a child that you're not going to be anything, then that's the whole entire movie. That is your life until you press stop on that scene, like a movie director that says, no, excuse me. No, we need to do a recasting here. You don't fit in this scene. We need to get somebody with different beliefs in here. Understand you're not doing it right. No, that's not how we're moving forward. No, our main character, I know that I'm the director. I'm also the actor. character in this movie, no, the main character no longer wants to be around characters like this anymore. I want to go into life and just make choices. I do not want to fear my mortality. Most of us, most humans, what they do is they make decisions based off of if they are going to live or pass away. Good awareness, kid. That's and for me, like, the reason why I practice emotional intelligence and why I love these conversations, for me, it's always the root. For me, it's always the root. Like when I watch videos about politics and I get frustrated, the root of the root healing, is being able to say, I can create community. Every single time that we tap on the screen for people who think like how you and I think, every single time that we see a video that we like, what we're doing, what companies are seeing, what businesses are seeing, what the world is seeing is this is what people want to watch. That's why I love knowing about the algorithm, because life is an algorithm. When you're speaking a certain way, you're getting more of it. Like right now, if you were going to go into your search engine and type stuff about like emotional intelligence and you were to tap like 3 videos, chances are the next video you would see, or one of the next 5 videos in your algorithm, would be about emotional intelligence. So in that same way, when you watch videos and people are saying everything is going according to plan, everything is going your way, if you've been told that you were stupid or not good enough or a victim or your life is hard and difficult and you're a failure, that's going to feel like the cheesiest, corniest thing in the world. And that's where on social media people say, that's so stupid and that's privilege. Only privileged people can say that everything's working in my favor. No, false. The strongest thing that you have are beliefs. Thank you, Cats Kittens, thank you. The strongest thing in your existence is your belief. If you really started to study all the different breakthroughs that they've discovered in science and neuroscience and in the medical field about the brain, all the new discoveries about the brain, what they've discovered about our DNA, what they've discovered is possible for humanity, what we're capable of, like, if you're just focusing on nonsense and like videos of Karen attacking the neighbors or like police brutality that's been happening since before like the beginning of time, there's always been in all of that conversation. I understand that it's a complicated conversation. This complicated conversation. If you're not going to do something about it, if you're not going to create community, if you're not going to start up a business, if you're not going to start up a nonprofit, if you're not going to start up an LLC, if you're not going to get that degree so that you can teach other people, if you're not going to do something that is a bigger purpose of, I want to make this world a better place and I want to focus on supply and demand and I want to make actual change non-violently, non-divisive, meaning that you don't put down one side and think the Democrats are better or the Republicans are better or these people are better. Everybody should do things my way so that I can control the world and never have to critically think. In the same way, people get into the spiritual conversation and they say that something's demonic. Talk to a shaman. There's no such thing as above, so below. It's like if you think that it's bad to be in the darkness. Shadow work is literally saying, I don't know what's in the darkness and I have the unknown within me. And so I want to go into that unknown. I want to know what is in this part of me that I have never taken a look at. I want to lean into this part of me if anybody else poked. I want to be able to love that part of myself. For me, the reason why I teach and why I talk about emotional intelligence is I want for you that when you go into a room, when you get around other people who don't like you, when you get around other people who put you down, you say, I own that part of myself. I own who I am. Nobody is ever going to call me stupid again, especially myself. Especially myself. But what does that mean? What does he mean when he says that? What are actions for those of you that have been told that you are stupid or not good enough or a failure? Childhood stuff. Can you think of any moments where when things haven't gone according to plan, when you miss the meeting, when you don't send the email off, when you don't do the thing that you were supposed to do, when you don't do the task you were supposed to do, and you go back to yourself and you go, stupid. Ugh. You have that, ugh. But what's the call to action? The hardest part is being kind to yourselves until it's not. Cats, the hardest, this is what I want for people to understand, besides the fact I got allergies or something going on, that everything that I'm saying is a practice. It's not tomorrow you get it. It's not tomorrow you wake up and everything makes sense. It's you saying, I'm realizing that I'm in other people who live in the same neighborhood, who have the same job as me, who are in the same place as me, and they seem to be happier. Or there are other people on planet Earth who are not fazed by what I'm fazed by. There are other people that when I'm in this really bad mood, nobody really acknowledges me or wants to talk to me. It's interesting. I want to be able to know that what I'm doing is correct. And from my experience, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm open to being wrong. If there's another way to do it, I'm open to it because I've done a lot to get to this point. For me, what gets me up, what gets me going, what has me get past the anxiety is my anger is my friend that says, do it. Do it. Do it. Go for it. Or my anger says, don't let that thing stop you. Do not let that thing stop you. Sometimes my frustration will say, you need to just sit with yourself and be a hot mess. And just sit with all of this feeling that you've been sitting with and you've been hiding for years. Cats, this is where it's all about the root, right? So this is where we realize, like, for example, with what you're saying, and that's amazing, right? Where I would go to, that it's the same way sometimes when people book time with me, they're like, I've made, millions of dollars, or I've made six figures, and I've had all this success, and I've won these awards, and my home is really beautiful, and everything looks really good, but I still feel like it's not enough. And it's childhood stuff. It's childhood stuff. So in elementary school, they had take your daughter or take your son to work day. What I would suggest is take that younger version of yourself around your life. Success isn't here. Success is here. And cats, and for anybody else who's relating, understand your go-to if you were told that you were stupid is going to interpret everything as I'm either really smart or there's something wrong with me and I'm a failure. It's childhood stuff. That part of my routine is all off and I'm angry. Let me sit with that. We're angry at ourselves. We're frustrated with ourselves. We've abandoned ourselves. We've disappointed ourselves. And this is where we talk to ourselves. I'm telling you, I want to see if anybody else has had the same experience, because for me it was transformative. When I started realizing the power of inner dialogue and self-talk, things started changing for me. So for example, when I started telling myself when I had 28 followers on TikTok, I was like, look, man, 28 people from all over the world who like what you have to say. Bad girl, yes, I am. If you want to, you know what? I do payment plans. I would just say if you want to just hop in and go for it and just do the class, there's going to be two different classes per month, and they're going to be 3 hours each. And there's also going to be a follow-up with a session with me, one-on-one with me, that if you're on a budget right now, what I would say is just message me, either DM me on Instagram, my emails in my bio link, or join the Discord, and I'll work with you. But just message me, let me know what your budget is. To treat is going through a that's that interpretation machine. Some people don't like my tone of voice because a man who had an aggressive voice said something in a certain way and it triggers that. I get that. Some of you cannot be in a happy relationship or a consistent relationship because you're not used to being around people who have their stuff together. Because when you were told that you're not good enough or told that you are stupid, it's not only that you go to that thought, you also manifest and create. And again, look up the literal definition of manifest. This isn't saying that you're closing your eyes and being like, oh, I sure wish that I would struggle more. No, it's creating. You're creating it. You see it, you see it, you see it. Hold on, let me pull this up. Hold on, let me find this. Where is this? Let me look this up right now. Let me type this in. Hold on. I got to tell you the literal manifest definition. Clear or obvious to the eye or mind. Clear or obvious to the eye or mind. Clear or obvious to the human mind. So for example, when your grandma says you'll never find a man who falls in love with me because I'm too much, that's somebody that you love. And so there's a part of you that thinks maybe that's true. And when we're young, we create those, okay, that makes sense. Okay. Somebody told me that I was stupid. Okay, you're right, because you love me and you created me, so you must know that I'm stupid. And then when we get around people who don't see us as stupid, the brain says, nope, that's not familiar to me. Nobody's ever told me that I was smart. Nobody's ever told me that I was good enough. Nobody ever told me that I had value. That's not familiar to me. They might as well be speaking Swahili, French, Pig Latin. They might as well be speaking a brand new language that I've never heard or I don't know how to speak. That's not familiar. If they're not putting me down, if they're not attacking me, I don't understand it. We get around people who have their life together and we judge them and we put them down. Like I was watching this video where this person was saying like how it's not fair that men don't have to put on any effort and women can't even wear the same dress twice. And I'm like, I don't think, and even the response said like, there's not one man that wants to be in a relationship with a woman who's going to be like, honey, you wore that dress twice. Like that doesn't exist in the normal conversation. Women actually hate harder on women than men. A lot of times, not always, but a lot of the time. So remember, what we give attention to, we see more of. In the same way, if you get around somebody who speaks a different language and you've never been around somebody who speaks that language or comes from a certain culture, you're going to start traveling around the city or around the world, and all of a sudden you're going to start noticing more restaurants or more businesses that speak that language that you never even thought of before. They were always there, you just weren't aware of it because you didn't know. And that's and cats that is a underrated understanding. I'm only attracted to what I know. I'm only attracted to what's familiar. So if I haven't had a nurturing relationship, like the relationship I'm in now, it took me a while. Like we got into the relationship in October, right? October 10th. That the arguments that we got into were because of misinterpretations, and part of us wasn't used to having somebody else who's a problem solver. That's fascinating for me. It's very, very easy for me to do this by myself and to be alone. To actually be around other people, that's where it gets tricky. That's where it gets complicated. Does that say Cree City? No, it says Free City. Free City. Free City. Right? Whatever is familiar to us, that's what we're going to go toward. The people that you see who are iconic and who are legendary are genuinely like, this is an original idea, and they just didn't have somebody in their life who told them that they were stupid, or they just got past that. I was wondering for years when my time was going to come. The only thing that changed in my routine, in my way of thinking, in my energy, was I set boundaries with one person. Man, speaking of allergies, I just stepped away from this one person. My whole entire world opened up. What is emotional intelligence in a nutshell? Emotional intelligence in a nutshell, it's like a Costco size nutshell. Emotional intelligence in a nutshell is before I get around other people, I identify how I feel. When I'm having the conversation, I can identify how I feel. When the other person is responding to me, I can identify how they feel. And just by being able to do that, I can open up a different understanding. I can have a different conversation. We can have a different dialogue. Emotional intelligence is understanding, for example, if I talk to you this way, maybe I'm mad, or maybe I'm just really, really passionate, right? It's being able to look into people's eyes and to see, what do I see when I talk to this person? What's the first intuitive thing that I get when they're talking? Emotional intelligence is realizing that you have options, you have value, you have different choices. Just because one person tells you that you should be this way and that way, you can look at them from a place of like, you know what? I don't like the way that I feel when that person spoke to me. Why is that? Maybe I'm insecure.